Salute, grand rising to all. We're going to salute the internal indigenous spiritual most high. Thank you for joining me on TikTok. Thank you for rocking with me on YouTube. If you're on TikTok, please find me on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, please find me on TikTok. All right, let's start by saying that. Trolls, only God and your mama can love you. I say that for a very distinctive and specific reason every time I come on. And one time, yeah. I say one time, y'all know how I get down. So I've been seeing some very interesting debates going around the internet. And there was one particular debate that caught my eye, and there was no way I could really let it pass without me putting my 5 cents on it, y'all. You know what I mean, so to speak. So it's the whole debate of who suffered more, slaves or Jesus. And I found it to be relatively almost laughable. I guess the term laughable could be applicable in this conversation right now at this moment. I found it laughable at some of the Black American responses, y'all. I found it to be very, very, very funny. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to play some things for you. We're going to have a discussion, and if there's any trolls, take the night off, take the morning off, take the day off. It is not needed. It is not needed. Okay, so we're going to start with Antonio Talks because he actually made good points. So go to YouTube, like I always tell you, and subscribe to Antonio Talks. Also, yes, a backup page, Antonio Speaks. So follow both, ladies and gentlemen. Follow both. Whenever I use someone's content, I like to give them that recognition. But let's jump right into this, y'all.
So in the past few days, TikTok has been absolutely divided because of the opinions from this one video. Slaves suffered more than Jesus did on the cross. So as a Christian, specifically a Black Christian, how does that video make you feel? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? Do you get angry? Do you contemplate and think about it? Now, before we dive into it, I want to say this here. If you are a Christian, I don't mean to offend you by anything in this video. You just got to understand that as a young Black man living in America and learning my history, slavery was our ancestors survived a genocide. So I get passionate when I talk about it, and Christianity was a big part on why, you feel me, we was in that shit. So I want to say this right here, man. If you want to click up this video now, I absolutely agree. It's still all love. Now that I have this disclaimer, let me get into it. For one, a lot of people will say, well, why are you comparing the two? I think it's actually great that we are comparing the two because it brings out the hypocrisy, right? What Jesus went through and what the slaves went through are both horrible things. But with Jesus, I feel like it's debatable, right? Some people say he's not a real person. Some people say he is a real person, yada, yada. It's so much conflicted ideology around. But slavery, on the other hand, we know that shit happened. So it's like you got Black people over here. We have literal ancestors that we are literally connected with that we demonize. Like I told.
And that was a great talking point while watching this video. We know the history of this nation. We know what the slaves went through. To this day, the entire core of America who is non-Black gets upset even if you mention reparations or slavery or go back in history and depict some of the things that, Europeans did to Africans and, people everywhere. So we know that this actually happened. We know that slavery actually took place. And it wasn't just here in America. All right. It wasn't just here in America. There is mythological attachments to the existence of the Bible and Jesus. And it's basically the Ethiopian Bible retranslated, rewritten, republished. It takes one to know their biblical history to actually be able to relate to what I'm saying. A lot of people are brainwashed, indoctrinated out of fear and religion to never doubt, never question. That means you will never, ever be conscious. You've got to know the truth in order to speak the truth. The truth is a fact, not a belief. The truth is always, always, always correlated with facts, not a belief. And without evidence, there's no argument. We have evidence to slavery. That's why we can make the general argument. We have no facts to the Bible. We have no facts to Paul and a lot of those writers. There's nothing. There's nothing. And outside of that book, there's nothing. Nothing in this world that reflects the birth of a Jesus or Jesus dying on the cross. It's all belief. It is indoctrination. It is mind control. Like on the movie Fridays, how Chris Tucker was like, I got mind control over Debo. But when Debo pulled up, he tucked his chains, he took off his jewelry, all of that, right? It was like, don't worry, when Debo leave, I'll be right back talking again. Debo had mind control over Craig and Smokey. And that's what we're seeing here. We would be Craig and Smokey. The government would be your Debo. Okay? To break it down in the lamest terms. Let's jump back in. And thank you for rocking with me on TikTok and being up. Thank you for rocking with me on YouTube and being up. Let's do some work. Let's do some work.
This story before, but my mom's dad, right? He was born in 1890 in Georgia. 1890. So that means that his parents, or most definitely his grandparents, were in slavery. I am connected to slavery. Like, that's what, 2-3 generations? That is crazy to me. And that is for a lot of people watching my videos. Like, we are so close to this shit. So when I hear about the stories of what these slaves went through, I'm like, damn, that's my, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel that shit. But they'll say that we shouldn't worship our, black ancestors because it's devilish or it'll get you sent to hell. But these white folks, they worship their people. They name streets after them. They put their people onto coins, onto dollar bills. They absolutely worship their ancestors. But black people, we scared.
Another great talking point. Another great talking point. Now, it's often said that religion and Christianity was brandished, manufactured, however you want to articulate it, so that, watch how I talk, so that a group of people could be in control, supremacy, control, that type of thing. All right. And it was also made so that we learn to praise those people in the midst of having our history, our culture stolen, erased. All right. Retranslated, rewritten, reclassified many a times. And it causes us to take our eyes off of our history. See, Christianity was correlated with slavery and heavily used with slavery. There were so many people unalived, with slavery because of religion. All right. Because of religion. Steve-O, you can find your way out of here. I told y'all, when y'all see people do that right there, that is automatic accountability. When they get angry like that, that's their way of showing accountability. That's their way of showing accountability. We're not going to deal with that tonight. We're not going to deal with it. All right, but thank you for showing accountability by getting angry. So I guess the term reparations must have angered you. Or when I said a group of people. Come on, vampires. Don't do it. I guess it is nighttime. The vampires are out. It's still dark. We're not safe until daylight. We're not safe until daylight. But this was made so that you could praise someone who didn't look like you. Someone who didn't look like you. It was to teach you that when you see these people, you praise these people. But when it comes to your own people are bad. It's always been non-black good, black is bad. White at a wedding, white candles, a white cat. But black at a funeral, a black cat is bad luck. Black candles, black magic, Black Friday. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. This is how we've been brainwashed and duped. And a lot of people who don't look like me is going to get upset. You know, they're going to have bowel movements in their britches tonight because the truth is coming out. And in order to break their stronghold and their oppression on us and other nations, you know, we've got to start getting the truth out. We've got to start getting the truth out.
Scared to do that, and they literally died and fought for the freedoms that we have today. Even the same way, like they'll demonize African religions, you know, voodoo, hoodoo, but turn around and worship these Greek gods. You know, we all know who Zeus is, we all know this and that. But when it comes to our own religions, it's bad. Even the way they treat black magic, like it's everything that's black is a negative connotation. And I don't see how nobody realizes it, bro. Now we're gonna check out some videos of people disagree.
I just said that. Yes, including paganism. Including paganism. A lot of people don't even know what Christmas really is. Christmas was borrowed from Saturnalia. A lot of people don't know that Valentine's Day was basically a massacre. A massacre. No one, come on, this nation still celebrates Columbus Day. This nation still puts up Confederate statues. Confederate statues, you know. Jeremy says, I felt that way forever. Why is the word black connected to negative situations? That's how it's set up. The same way that white Jesus was attached to those situations and he was supposed to be a savior. No one is coming to save us if we don't save ourselves. FBA Convo, what's up, brother? What's good, brother? But this is all a part of the brainwashing, the indoctrination, and the control. The control. At one point, it was against the law for black people to read and write, to be educated, because then they would be able to write letters, reaching out, telling people about what they were going through. Or maybe they could form what Nat Turner did, basically, a rebellion, you know? So it was all to divide and conquer. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right. So it was a divide and conquer tactic that a lot of us fell for. Now, can we blame ourselves for this? In this era, it's a yes and no. But during the eras of us growing up, our parents raising us, it's a no. All right, FBA Convo, I appreciate you. Thank you for the support always, brother. You know, always. So growing up with our parents, that's a yes. Because our parents, well, I'm going to just say no. I meant to say no, because our parents were only passing down what was passed down to them. They were doing the best they could. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't have the power of the internet. They burned tens of hundreds of thousands of books so that the truth never came out. They hid the Dead Sea Scrolls. That was intentional in itself. Someone knew what was coming. Someone knew what was coming. Someone was intentionally hiding something. No one goes back in retrospect and talks about, they'll mention the Bible in Ethiopia, but they won't mention the prophet. Yes, Christianity existed before the colonizers touched down. What the colonizers changed when they touched down in Ethiopia, which was the only country that they didn't conquer in Africa. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Ethiopia was never conquered. Okay, Ethiopia still uses a 13-month calendar to this day. Till this day, we have 12 months in a leap year every 4 years. Do the math. But what they changed was the denomination of Christianity to assimilate their cultural control that much faster. See, those Africans in Ethiopia, they were familiar with Christianity, but they didn't know anything about a Jesus. They knew about Horus. They knew about Osiris. They knew about those type of people. You know what I'm saying? Bless you too, Lone Star. They knew about those type of people. If you was to wake up an ancient Ethiopian to this day out of their eternal sleep, and we modern day people mention Christianity to them, yes, they would be familiar with the term Christianity. But while you're saying, well, how do you feel, you know, waiting on Jesus? They're going to ask you, who the heck is Jesus? Do you not know of Horus? Have you not heard of Osiris? This stuff is all completely mythological, y'all. You know, All completely mythological, and we fall for it. And it's to maintain control, it's to maintain supremacy. And these are the same people who will tell you you're not oppressed, you've never been through nothing. Entitlement and control and supremacy doesn't exist. You're the only person holding you back. Your laws, your policies, your religion, your indoctrination in the church and in your public school facilities. It's all indoctrination. There's certain things that they don't cover in these European owned schools, just like there's certain things that your black pastor is not going to cover biblically on Sundays out of that Bible. And it's part of a grand design. It's not to say or attest that they don't know the truth. They know the truth. They know the truth. Congratulations, I am Rudy P. Just reached fan level number 2 in the fan club. All right. It's not to say that they don't know the truth, but it breaks the power of control. It breaks the power of their commerce. It breaks the power of their agenda when you reveal the truth. America has been built and funded on lie after lie after lie. Ladies and gentlemen, these people are never going to tell us the truth because they never want to see you back in power. Understand how I just put that. They never want to see us back in power. Back in power. And we'll touch on that a little later in this live. I'm going to back that up if you stick around long enough. They don't want to see us as the merchants we were, as the bankers we were, as the farmers we were. They don't want to see that. They don't want to see that. Let's get back into this.
Agreeing with me, and I'm gonna try to check them as much as I can, right? So yeah.
They nailed my man to a cross with nails. They put a thorn crown on my man's head. They made him carry.
I want y'all to listen to this, brother. I want y'all to listen to how biblically how biblically indoctrinated he is, and his biblical interpretation of what's more important and what's more relevant to him, his culture, his history. He's picking a manufactured Jesus over facts. I told y'all that truth is backed by facts. Belief is not backed by facts. It's simply belief. It's opinionated. It can be debated. You cannot debate the fact that slavery happened. You cannot debate the fact that slavery existed. You know, you can't. You can't debate that. America can't debate that. If America is going to debate that, then why does the term reparations exist? Huh? Why is there FBA right now? Why is there Pan-Africanism? Why is there still a social and civil disruption and division between the races? Why? Why is there still a privilege? Why is there still entitlement? Why is there still control? Why do they still control about 90% of the wealth in this nation? Tell me why. Tell me why your ghettos and your projects were invented. Tell me why. Tell me why. Tell me why they wanted to cause separation between a black man and a black woman. And that's been going on since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of time. There was one point they was weaponizing white men with black women and weaponizing black men with white women. And that was called blackiamento, aka whitening. Whitening. It was to lighten the culture and the complexion of the community, y'all. It was seen as a curse to be dark skinned, to be black. It's monetary and race. It's monetary and race because it was used during colonization. That makes it racial. That makes it racial. When the Romans touched down, they changed everything. That made it racial. It took it from Afrocentric to Eurocentric. So it was racial as well as monetary.
A 300-pound cross. A 300-pound cross. Not for a mile, not for 2. They made my man walk. Whipped him while he's carrying the cross. Whipped
bro. I'm not trying to sound inconsiderate to Christians, but didn't Jesus or whatever get crucified for 3 days? My ancestors would endure this shit for their entire life. The average lifespan was what, like 40 years of a slave? So 40 years, whatever. It might have been longer. Pretty sure it was longer, right? 40, 50, 60 years plus other things, right? Did y'all know most slaves only got like 3 to 4 hours of sleep? I mean, they were living on hell on fucking earth. And it's documented. We have literal proof of this. But this just shows you how truly brainwashed a lot of our brothers are. And I'm not mad at him, man. It's just sad that he don't know his history.
Hey, crap. Well, hey.
3 days. If he did exist, if Jesus did exist, 3 days carrying a 300-pound cross, nails in your hands, a crown of thorns, is worse than what slaves went through 40, 50, 60 years of their life, working with not being able to cleanse yourself, not being able to eat, nutritionalize yourself, being hated, being profiled because of your skin color, being born into slavery, being deemed as cattle rather than a human being, babies being fed to alligators, men being castrated, skin being used for wagons and book binders and furniture. Jesus didn't go through that. And we're having this whole debate about Jesus. If he existed during that time, Jesus didn't save our people. Jesus didn't save those slaves. It's not like Jesus zapped the European and said, act right. Some will argue free will, which is another argument in this whole existence of Jesus. If a God, if a Lord, if a Savior of such magnitude and magnificence and omnipotence actually existed, do you think that we would still be going through what we're going through today with the same group of people who have hated us since the beginning of time, ladies and gentlemen? Since the beginning of time. This is a grand design. This is divide and conquer. This is the Eraser Act. This is the Eraser Act. You heard this brother mention voodoo. You heard this brother mention everything. He mentioned the same things I mentioned when it comes to black. That is who we really were. Ask those Frenchmen who pulled up to colonize Haiti. It's documented that Jacques Dessalines and all of those Haitians even used voodoo and black magic to defeat those Frenchmen. That's why they put it in your Bible, because it put fear in their hearts. They had to write it out so that you never turn back to it. This is documented. They were jumping off boats, trying to yell charge and losing their voices. So they'll go back and replace this general, this lieutenant with someone who had better vocals. And the same thing happened to them. Imagine jumping off of a boat and your legs aren't operating. You want to run, you want to charge, but you're falling flat on your face. That was the black magic and the work, the spirituality of those Haitians. Y'all. This is documented stuff I'm giving you. This is documented. The research is out there. The lies should have quit when the internet hit. The research is out there, ladies and gentlemen. It's out there. But if you wanted to reference Jesus or a violent so-called God, it's just like green eggs and ham. It's only one book you can turn to. There's millions of documents, pages, files, and history pertaining to slavery. There's one book that's going to back up what this brother is crying about right here. They gave my man a crown of thorns. That's it. Is that it? 3 days. Is that it? He rose. They say he rose. He was rewarded. We can call that reparations. He ascended into heaven, correct? What slave received reparations? I didn't say what slave master, what slave? What slave? All right. I am Rudy P. Yes, the information is available, but people are too brainwashed to even try to understand. Exactly. Exactly. And then you get people like Mr. John 3:16. Every tongue will confess and every knee will bow. Believe that. Believe that. But we won't be on the receiving end of that. And if that's what you want to believe, that is your opinion. Because if you ask me, the knees should be bowing now. And the tongues of the government, you know what I'm saying? And those people causing those afflictions, they need to be confessing now. We see what's going on with Iran. No, John, I won't. No, John, I won't. That is your belief, John. And it sounds like you should be believing that, John. It's not my belief, John. I know better, John. I'm conscious and spiritual, John. See, you can't weaponize. They can't weaponize their women against me. They can't weaponize the D-rugs against me. They can't weaponize religion against me. They can't weaponize anything against this brother right here. I'm solid. I'm solid. And that's the type of people that put fear in those type of people. In those type of people. I don't come with that fear. I come with the truth, regardless of the circumstances. I'd rather suffer for the truth and be disliked because I deliver the truth than be praised as a liar. And everything in your Bible was a liar. They were liars. There's different accounts. How Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all give different accounts on the existence of Jesus and what he went through. How? Tell me how. Tell me how. How is all of these accounts written well after the passing of Jesus? We're talking decades, if not 100 years or better. I've heard 40 to 100 years. These people didn't even walk with Jesus. The Bible is not the truth. It's indoctrination. If the Bible is actually true, then you tell me why God condoned slavery. You tell me why God gave people permission to go to other countries and continents and gather them as slaves and take them back. You tell me why the Bible says if a woman is raped by a man and she becomes pregnant, that she has to marry that man. What woman wants to marry someone who raped her? You could barely get a woman to keep a child if she's raped and she comes up pregnant. Why would the Bible force that individual to marry her? Why would the Bible force you to marry your brother, the husband's brother, if the husband died? Why is there so much incest in the Bible? Why did God unalive more people in that Bible than the devil did himself? Why? If the Bible is true, you're right, it is true. It's a true receipt of the testament we see today of a certain group of people. We see it in the Epstein files. Everything that's happening in the Bible with those people is happening right now on the face of this earth. And globally, the world is starting to speak up about it. The world is starting to speak up about it. You don't realize that 80 to 90% of the world globally, internationally, are melanated. The ones who did all the conquering and colonizing are actually the minority globally. The world is tired of it because you can go to other countries and continents and you're going to hear the same stories. That's why they don't show accountability. That's why they don't show accountability. You know, we're not going to argue with people like John 3:16. He's here to be a distraction. You got to let vampires do what they do. You got to let vampires do what they do. You know what I mean? The truth hurts. The truth hurts.
It is bleeding from the crown cross, from the crown thorn. And you gonna sit up here, you gonna tell me, oh no, slaves had it worse. Oh no, slaves had it worse. What?
Yes, nigga. What the?
Why are we even comparing? Even if you were to compare, the slaves today, no one on this earth has suffered more than Jesus. No one has. I don't care what you went through.
Did y'all know in the Jamaican plantations, there were sugar fields, so they was mining, sugar and stuff. A punishment for the slaves, and this is documented. I'm gonna put a picture up on the screen. A punishment for somebody.
Before I even let him get that thought off, I need those who are conscious. I need those who are FBA. I need those who know the truth to really mindfully, consciously, and mentally tap in right now to what we just heard this brother say. This brother is throwing a whole temper tantrum and just sat here and said he defended a Eurocentric made up Jesus and downed slavery. You have a book that you're defending with the name of a man who has homosexual tendencies written on the binder, King James, someone who watched their mother pass in the most tragic way and did egregious things with his Aunt Elizabeth. Never, he was the first one to change it. He was the first one to start changing the Bible. You tell me why Shakespeare wrote in the Bible. Shakespeare. Tell me why that Bible in Malachi, the end of Malachi, it predicts the coming and dreadful day of the Lord, and it says that Elijah the prophet shall come before the dreadful day of the Lord, unless I come smite the earth with a curse first. But when you turn to the New Testament, which is 400 years later, what they call the intertestamental period, where God did not deal solely with man one-on-one. All right? 400 years, God did not deal with man one-on-one. That is where you get your free will from, ladies and gentlemen. That's where your free will comes from, Christians. And you're talking to someone whose father was a minister. I also went to Bible college as well. I just didn't finish. That's where I started waking up at. But instead of them giving you Elijah, like Malachi prophesied at the closing of the Old Testament, it gives you John the Baptist. And it took Jesus and an archangel to confirm that John the Baptist was born in the spirit of Elijah. You people have to know the things that you believe in. The problem is you're going to church and you're listening to these men give you their biblical interpretation of what they believe to be true from their indoctrinated experiences. But you're not really tapping in and thinking for yourself. Read the Bible like it is a book, like you would read any other book from start to finish, and you will see the same things I'm giving you right now. The same things. It makes no sense why a powerful God did not need a woman to create Adam, but you needed a woman to create Jesus. No one talks about how old Mary was. 12 to 13 years old, married to a grown man, and now impregnated by a so-called spirit of God. And we're seeing that right now with the Epstein files and everything else with a certain group of people who cannot keep their hands off of younger people. Y'all don't hear me though. We ain't tapping in. Y'all don't hear me though. See, this is why I get shadow banned on the internet. This is why I had to take days off, because the truth, when it's spoken, it hurts. And these same people control these platforms, and they can shut you down. You can shut me down all day, but there'll be another after me on the internet telling you the same thing and giving you the same truths. I don't walk in that fear. My fear is the truth never getting out to people who look like me, because we cannot survive another generation. It's like the movie Get Out, man. Get the teacup, get the spoon, start tapping it, man. We got to wake up and we got to get out. We got to get out. It's never been nothing in it for us. It's all been for the benefit of other people who don't look like us. It's all been because of carbon-12 melanin. Carbon-12 melanin. You don't understand. They use Indians. They use black people. They use Spanish people. They use anyone they could to exploit their agenda, because they were not equipped to do it, y'all. They were not equipped to do it. To this day, we see that happening. Till this day, we see that happening. We have artificial sunscreen. The colonizers didn't have that. The only way that work was going to get done is either when the sun went down, which is why you have your sundown towns. Don't be fooled. A lot of them couldn't come out and get work done until the sun went down. That's why you have sundown towns. People with melanin are able to move around and move about at free will, because the UV rays from the real sun, S-U-N, Sunday, was a solar worship day that was changed to a religious day when the Son, S-O-N, of God, Jesus, was implemented by the Roman Emperor Constantine, 325 AD, the first council of Nicaea. See, you got to know your facts. You have to know your facts. And if Jesus was really real, then why was he written into divinity, written into law as God's son by 318 bishops, ladies and gentlemen? Why would you have to write something? Why would you have to write Jesus as divinity? No one wrote God as divinity, but you had to add Jesus. There were 16 other saviors, if not more, before Jesus when it comes to Christianity. This is how plagiarized and paganized and colonized this religion is. And people fear the truth. They also fear they don't understand. They hate what they can't conquer. And they've been hating a certain group of people for the longest because no matter what they took that group of people through, they could not conquer us. They could not break us. We would not bow down. We would not stop fighting back. We will not stop proclaiming our truths, our heritage, our culture, their lies. And we will forever suffer for. The truth does not exist within this country. The truth does not exist within the ramifications of these people's mindset, hearts, consciousness, none of that. It's all greed. It's all control. It's all systemic. It's all anti-black. If I can say that and get away with it. These platforms seem to be so censored now. It's like they can come on here and say stuff to us, and the minute we say things back to protect our integrity, now they're going to report us, and well, they're checking us, but not checking them. So black people, we need to work on getting our own platforms. We definitely need to work on getting off of other people's platforms and working on our own platforms. But this brother right here is taking up more. He's taking up more for a Eurocentric, made up, mythological person that he will never see, that's never did anything for him, rather than the people who laid down a foundation, people who suffered and sacrificed, man, for the betterment of our race and for the liberation of our people. Name one time they've played fair. They've never played fair. That's why they hate when you talk about it.
But those slaves were getting put into boiling sugar. The factories were actually nonstop. Like you had to work 24-hour shifts until you basically died, right? And it's just like, man, my people.
Wait a minute.
Jamaican plantations.
Wait a
There
minute.
were sugar fields, so they was mining, sugar.
Was Jesus ever put in the boiling sugar? Huh? We don't even know if that was really Jesus in the fiery furnace. They said the Bible says one like unto the Son of Man. It doesn't confirm it. It doesn't confirm it. Was Jesus ever put in boiling sugar? I just want to know, was Jesus ever lynched? Did Jesus have kids that were also adopted into slavery, indoctrinated into religion, and worked like this and hated like this and profiled like this because of who he were? Jesus roamed freely around. Roamed freely. If he really existed, he roamed around freely. Jesus also hung with felons, crooks, and criminals. No one talks about that. No one talks about that. But listen to what Antonio says here.
Stuff. A punishment for the slaves, and this is documented. I'm going to put a picture up on the screen. A punishment for some of those slaves were getting put into boiling sugar. The factories were actually nonstop. Like you had to work 24-hour shifts until you basically died, right? And it's just like, man, my people were another.
Are you looking to sell your house as is without the hassle of costly repairs or
Another thing, y'all. So there was this doctor who was labeled as the father of gynecology. He had discovered all this groundbreaking information about the woman's body, and he did this off of the backs of black women, experimented on different black slaves. I mean, cutting on them without anesthesia, digging inside of them. Do you guys know the horrors that these women went through? I mean,
I'm worried that this video will get me banned. You will never hear this name in schools, not because it's a secret, but because it is too horrific to teach.
Now, right there, when he said that these people were cutting on women without anesthesia and doing nefarious, egregious things to them, right there, why didn't Jesus step in and save them? Where was Jesus? Was she even crying out to Jesus at that point? Where was Jesus? Where was the Savior, y'all? He's going to show up to save you when everything is over. He's not going to save you while you're going through it. He's not going to save you from it. The first slave ship was called the Good Jesus, ladies and gentlemen. There was more than one Jesus in the Bible. What do you think Barabbas' first name was? Barabbas. That's why I always tell people Jesus was traded for Jesus in the Bible. Why aren't they telling you this? Simply because Barabbas was incarcerated. And when you're incarcerated, they don't call you by your first name. They call you by your last name. His last name was Barabbas and or Barabbas. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it. We have to apply this common sense. It teaches you not to doubt, because if you doubt, if you dig, you can find the truth. If you find the truth, it weakens their agenda. It weakens their control. It weakens their supremacy. It weakens their plot. It weakens their plot. They don't want that to happen. They don't want that to happen. We need it to happen, but they don't want it to happen. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Iran is already finna get reparations, but it's written as compensation. Iran is going to get reparations from the United States the same way the members of the J community did, the same way the Japanese did for those concentration camps, the same way the Italians did, the same way the Siberian imported Indians did, not the real Native Americans. But when it comes to black, when it comes to something melanated and making it right, no. And these are the same people who control the government. So the oppression will always be there until we find a way to educate, deprogram, reprogram, organize, and rise up. But that's that unity we talk about in our community. But they've got us arguing over simple things to keep us divided. And one of those things are religion, a Eurocentric white Jesus. Another one of those things are politics. Another one of those things could be sexual gender or sexual preference, or they find things to divide us, y'all. And we play into it every time. Every single time. What up, Dougie? What up, Dougie? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. We dig into it every single time. When are we going to free ourselves? Remember, we were liberated and emancipated. Nothing said that we were actually free. If the 13th and 14th, if the Constitution, if the president wanted to declare martial law right now, brothers and sisters, do you understand how much that will affect us? Because inside that Constitution is the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. If you suspend that Constitution, you're suspending the emancipation, the abolishment, the Voters Act. You're suspending all of that for black people, which puts us where? Right back on the plantations. Puts us to being recognized under the cattle laws in this country again, to where we're 3/5 a human being all over again. It could be Jim Crow tomorrow if one of these crazy European presidents actually declare martial law. We're the only group of people who have paperwork like that to free us. So what was the Civil Rights Act if slavery never existed? How do we know about Reconstruction, segregation, integration, Jim Crow? How do we know about the fall of Black Wall Street? How do we know about Nat Turner? How do we know about James Brown, which is the only European brother that I give some credit to? If you're not familiar with John Brown, oh, black people, y'all need to read up on John Brown. He was a real one, and he wasn't black. He was a real one, and he wasn't black. He saw this, y'all. And he actually did something about it. He reached out to people like Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass to start a movement, to start a rebellion, a revolt, and they turned him down out of fear. This is a white brother I'm talking about, John Brown. John Brown only had 21 people in his army, and 5 of those people were his children. And they laid it all on the line for black people, man. They laid it all on the line for us. And you can't find anyone in today's modern times that's non-black that's going to do that for us. So I won't sit here and speak ill of the whole entire community, because there's good apples and bad apples in every bunch. But we seem to see less good apples now and more vampires than great apples in the bunch. And that's just the way of the world. Let's get back into it.
Thomas Thistlewood wasn't a king or a general. He was a British slave owner in Jamaica in the 18th century. And for 37 years, he wrote everything down. Every rape, every torture, every mutilation in detail. His diary is one of the most disturbing documents in British history. Thistlewood started as an overseer, a middleman of brutality. He later bought his own land, enslaved dozens of people, and never returned to England. But what makes Thistlewood different isn't what he did. It's that he wrote it all down. In his diary,
And I just imagine the things that weren't written down, bro. Like, man, my people went through fucking
Thistlewood recorded 3,800 instances of rape. And it wasn't hidden. It wasn't ashamed.
Was Jesus ever raped? Was Jesus ever raped? If we're going to have the debate of who suffered more out of Jesus and those slaves, were Jesus ever raped? Was Jesus ever really separated from his family? Was Jesus taken into custody, relocated, and sold, and all of this stuff? Was he? If he actually existed, was he? Was he? There's a reason that this country pushes Christianity so much. There's a reason that this country despises Islam. There's a reason that this country despises black, y'all. It was those Islamic Moors that saved them when Rome fell. That's right. Those black Islamic Moors in year 711 saved Europe. When they drove the economy down, when the Europeans drove their own economy down and Europe was falling, yes, those Afrocentric black Moors, those Islamic black Moors saved Europe. They bought construction there. They bought math there. They built hospitals. They bought language there. They never colonized anyone. They never conquered anyone. The Moors were out and about just like the colonizers were. During there, everywhere that the colonizers touched, the Moors touched. But you don't hear these stories about the Moors. And you can't really find those stories because they're not going to give black people credit. They don't want you to go digging that history up. Someone look it up. Christopher Columbus got here in 1492. But from year 711 up to 1492, guess who were in power? Black people. That's what they call the Dark Ages. Those Moors, y'all. Those Islamic Moors. From year 711 to 1492, the black Islamic Moors reigned in power. That's why it's called the Dark Ages. They don't want you to know the truth. They will hide that because that doesn't benefit them. It doesn't make them look good. It makes them look weak. That the black Islamic Moors had to show up and save a group of people who said they were superior, save a group of people who were going around colonizing, stealing, and indoctrinating, raping, and unaliving people, treating people less than human. They had to be saved. So while you're waiting on a white Jesus to save you, they didn't wait on white Jesus. It was the black Moors that saved them. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all better wake up. You can find this stuff. 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 Let's go.
It was documented on January 26, 1752. He wrote, gave Pibea a good cut whipped, then gave her a good dose of salts. Pibea was an enslaved concubine. She had no way to refuse. Their so-called relationship is cited by some historians, but it is rape over decades. And then there were the punishments. On May 26, 1756, he wrote, Darby catched eating cane.
Dougie, you're definitely right. In the Bible, Jesus told black people to obey your earthly masters as he obeyed his Father in heaven as well. Yes, he did. Slave masters, he said, slaves, obey your slave masters as you also obey your Father in heaven. Even when, as far as saying that those slave masters had a Father in heaven too. They were telling black people back then with this whole Bible thing that we don't want you to make our God and their people look bad. Are you kidding me? You do that all by yourself. And you did that all by yourself. And you continue to do that all by yourself. Do you not see who we have for president? Do you not see what's going on? Do you not see that he hasn't done any jail time? Nobody in these Epstein files have done any jail time. Do you know who leads the way when it comes to touching children in these improper fashions? Do you know who leads the way when it comes to downloading indecent content of children? Do you know who leads the way under arrest and convictions of child and other S crimes in this country? They don't give you those facts. And I'll let you know it's non-black. Non-black. They're convicted at over 77%, 73 to 77% of all S crimes. But now that they're in power, and now that you have celebrities and politicians and everybody else involved in the Epstein files, they're going to protect that because they run the government. But if a black man walked in that white courtroom today, they're not going to save that black man. Did they save R. Kelly? Did they save R. Kelly? Why is Donald Trump pardoning pedos? Why did his religious leader, his religious consultant also get arrested and somewhat pardoned? Pedo. Real talk. No one's thinking about this. We saw Erica Kirk and Nicki Minaj link up and the whole world went after Nicki, right? But no one was thinking, what does the two have in common? And I guess I have to say alleged here, but like I say, y'all can find this information. One might argue, what does the two have in common? Oh, Nicki was selling out. Now, I'm not going to get on Nicki about what she chooses to vote for. I consider that her team. I like my Lakers, as you can see behind me. So the Lakers are my team. The Miami Hurricanes are my team. So I'm going to rock with my team. You understand what I'm saying? Like Christianity is some of your team. You're going to rock with your team. If she wants to put on the red, that is her choice. At least she's showing people how to get off the plantation, and she's thinking for herself. I can't get mad about the decisions she makes for her. Okay. But what I am going to address is we missed the whole picture. Nicki Minaj's brother is serving time. He's a registered pedo. Nicki Minaj's husband has served time. He's a registered pedo. And if you pay attention to Erica Kirk and you know anything about the Romanian Angels and why she was kicked out of Romania and all of the children that was coming up missing out of Romania, then you could link the two together. We also know that there's rumors allegedly out there that she was also finding, and I can't use the G word, preparing people for their Epstein encounters. Can I say that? Can I say that? Allegedly. Donald Trump is associated with all of them. What does Donald Trump have in common? Donald Trump is in the Epstein files being mentioned with girls who were just like 13 years old. 13 years old. In about 4 or 5 states, they're trying to change the legal age of consent to 14 years old. These people are looking at 14-year-old girls as if they're mature enough to procreate and replenish the world because their birth rates are decreasing. We look at our children like, I wish a mother would, until you're 18 or better. You understand? There's a difference in the cultures, y'all. There's a difference in the belief. We have always been way more ethical than any other group of people. We've always been way more beneficial than any other group of people. We've always been way more proactive than any other group of people. But we've also always suffered more than any other group of people, right down to your white Jesus. Right down to your white Jesus. Let's go. I'll back this up a little bit.
No way to refuse. Their so-called relationship is cited by some historians, but it is rape over decades. And then there were the punishments. On May 26, 1756, he wrote, Darby catched eating canes, had him well flogged and pickled, then made Hector shit in his mouth. He called it...
My goodness, bro. Man, y'all don't. This is what I mean, bro. Just learning shit like this it makes you be like, damn, why? We went through all this shit with no type of forgiveness. The man said he whipped him, flogged him, then made another slave. Bro, that is fucking sadistic, bro.
Yes,
they y'all wonder why we wasn't surprised about these Epstein files, nigga. Everything they was doing on the islands, they did to our people. What the fuck?
Darby's dose. And afterwards, he had the man gagged.
Let me add to that. Everything that they did in the Bible, they're actually still doing now, because the same people who wrote your Bible is running your government and has always been the colonizers. So this happens everywhere that they go. Everywhere that they go. But we're going to get you out of here real quick. You know what? I'm going to actually let you stay. Because even haters need to hear the truth. But you won't be able to, you're not going to speak. You're not going to speak. You're not going to speak.
For hours. This wasn't instances of rage. This was just policy. He had salt rubbed into people's wounds. He had ears nailed to post. And he burnt people.
Ears nailed to post. What we just seen about the dude talking about the man, bro, like it's no debate, bro, at all, bro. I'm sorry to keep pausing, but man, I'm gonna just let the shit play out because I
with hot wax. And all of this was to maintain control over people harvesting sugar for British profits. Thistlewood was never punished. He was never shamed. He was considered successful. He died in 1786, wealthy, respected, and positively spoken about by other plantation owners. But historians like Vincent Brown and Trevor Bernard warn us. What Thistlewood did, the system allowed and encouraged and required. And the horror really isn't that he existed. It's that he thrived.
Another history lesson. You see that hole, that tiny hole up there? They used to drop down food while there was 1,000 men in this room and have them fight to the death for just a little bit of food because they would starve them for days, making these men turn against each other and just become savages. And here is where,
I mean, you again, now they're on a plantation. They're showing where food was thrown down out of a hole amongst thousands of slaves, and they had to fight for it. Are you serious, AJ? You're gonna do lightning bolts, AJ? Like, I don't know what 2 lightning bolts mean, AJ. Well, a real piece. Or real peace. You're gonna sit here and put 2, and I'm gonna report you again. See, I'm an educated brother. I know what 2 lightning bolts mean. I trust me, I'm well aware. And I don't mind holding y'all accountable. This is what we're talking about right now. Lineage of evil. These vampires, y'all. And I deal with you every time you come in here. I let you know you're a real piece of shh every time. Now I'm going to report you. Now you get reported. Now you get reported. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work. Keep up the good work. Perfect example of what we're talking about. These people wake up evil just like this every day. Not all of them, some of them. Not all of them, some of them. And you're going to get reported too. And I guess I'll go ahead and debunk that lie. You guys are on food stamps and EBT and welfare more than anyone. And I don't want to hear per capita. 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 You're going to hear the truth. Whether you like it or not, you're going to hear the truth. All right, we got him up out of here. Got him up out of here. This is how racist they are. They think that we're so uneducated. We don't know what 2 lightning bolts mean. Huh? All this symbolic stuff. All the symbolic racist symbols y'all use, man. All the racism, and y'all hate to be held accountable. You hate when people put the truth out there about you, but yet you live up to every single fact ever known about you as far as being evil. You're living up to it. You're not even trying to debunk it. You're not trying to change it. You're proud of your hateful heritage. That's why we are proud to be foundational Black Americans. We are proud to be indigenous to this land. We are proud to know the truth. And we are proud that at least we know who our enemies are. We are proud to know who our enemies are. Thank you. Thank you. Because it would have been worse had we not known and been forced to live amongst you. But we know. And when you know better, you do better. We know what to expect, and we know what you guys aren't capable of. You aren't capable of telling the truth. You aren't capable of loving. You're not capable of reparations. You're not even capable of keeping your hands off your own damn children. You are giving birth to children just to have sex slaves. You treat your wives like property, not like human beings, like property. That's why your women coming over to the Black side. Like property, they're tired of it. Your women give accounts of how you guys actually like the same sex. Your women are giving accounts. How much more verification and validation do you need to a claim before you believe it? How many times must we start? How many times do we have to keep hearing these stories resurface over and over and over again before you start to find relevance to it? You heard the Bible revamped, rewritten, retranslated, and reinterpreted so many times that you finally believe it. So we're seeing the truth about them from our government. We saw what Israel just did. Okay, we know the history of these people. We know who runs this government. We know who the majority of the Epstein people are. You understand what I'm saying? And this has been going on since the beginning of time with these people. And still, no accountability. no accountability. As long as I have air in my lungs, I love to see you upset, because that's the only way you're going to show accountability is through your guilt. When you get upset and you get up and you get mad because we're talking about history and reparations, that guilt that you feel, that's as close as we're going to come to seeing that group of people being accountable, y'all. Take that for accountability. Take that for accountability. And telling us there's nothing we could do about it. Nobody told Nat Turner there was nothing he could do about it. Or did he do something about it? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Just thinking about it, y'all. That is how they already they seen that, bro. Put these people against each other already. Little small tactics like that, dropping down food when everybody's starving. You know it's gonna be chaos. The same way that's the same way I look at
divide and conquer, putting people against each other. The William Lynch letter of 1712, Virginia Rock Beach. What was that? That comes to mind right now too. If we're talking about pivoting and putting people against each other. I talked about how they use religion, government, politics, all of that to divide us. Okay, the Willie Lynch letter. The Willie Lynch letter itself was meant to cause division among black people, black slaves. It put the tall against the short. It put the strong against the weak. It put the light against the dark. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. See, we have so many accounts to prove that these things actually took place. But we don't have those same accounts to prove that Jesus existed and this is just not some type of theology. I can never say that word. You know what I'm trying to say? Theology. Yeah, that word. You know what I'm saying? Ideology right here. Theologian ideology. There it is. I finally said it. It's sad, man. It's sad. It's sad.
these hoods, bro. Everybody wants some money. Everybody trying to eat. Drop drugs in there. A couple of them gonna take it, trying to make some money and better themselves. Obviously, they're just trying. You know what I'm saying? That's human nature. Fuck up everybody else. Kill some in a way. Like, bro, this division shit has always been playing, putting us against each other. The light, the dark, the old, the young, woman versus man. Now we see it now with the damn diaspora wars and shit, bro. Like, these folks is so smart and strategic with what they do, man. I'll just be telling y'all to pay attention, dog. Truly pay attention.
A rebellious female would be held. So she would be attached to that ball by chain all day with no food, no water, under the sun, rain, it didn't matter. She would be there until she was weak. The governor would come on this balcony and look down at her once she was weak.
Man, listen, man. Jesus didn't go through that. Yeah, Jesus turned water into wine, had fish everywhere he go, fed people with bread. Jesus didn't go through starvation. Nobody starved Jesus to make him weak. He wasn't chained to anything. I don't want to hear about nailed to a cross. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Just the fact that y'all think that someone came from the dead and ascended to heaven, you're praising someone as a God. Don't y'all understand that Christianity plays with spirits just like voodoo and hoodoo? Do y'all understand that the Bible is the book of dead? The book of the dead? There's no difference between voodoo and hoodoo and black magic than there is communion. There's no difference. It's all ritualistic. All ritualistic. You wonder why people are running around that church, shouting and doing the thing they do. Because you done played with so many damn spirits and called on so many damn spirits. You don't know what spirit done inherited your soul and using it as a host right now. You want to call it the Holy Spirit, but there's nothing holy about a religion that's so damn tainted and evil throughout its history. All the people you see doing this to children are Christians. All of your racist lawmakers are Christians. The KKK, protected Christian group. These are all Christians. Every WAR that was caused in this country and around the world was done by Christians. Christians. Let me tell you again, Christians.
And asked somebody to bring her up so he could SA her from this balcony.
Hello, my name is William. A few years ago, I got
This was thousands of women. And like, as you could see, can you imagine being chained here naked all day? And all these men are just walking around able to do whatever they want to you. When a female would get pregnant, they would keep them in.
They would chain a black woman to a this ball, man. I had a chain to it. They would weaken her, starve her, and have a whole bunch of Europeans circle past her and just have their way with her. She was too weak to fight. Where was Jesus? Why didn't Jesus save her? We talk about all these bears that come out of nowhere and maul someone because someone got picked on about their hair and everything in the Bible. Well, why didn't God send some bears to maul these rapists right here? And you notice it was white men who were circling her who did this, correct? The slave masters. Again, we see the Epstein files. Again, they lead the way in arrests and convictions when it comes to S crimes and child. We know about the trafficking rings. We know who controlled that. Come on, are we kidding right here? Did we forget about the Harvey Weinsteins too? Did we forget about that? Because I certainly didn't. I certainly did not. Did we forget about that? Before there was Epstein, there was a Weinstein. This is sad, man. Jesus did not suffer more than the slaves did. He didn't even suffer as long. I'm going to say he was protected because he was non-black, although some of y'all want to argue he was black just to prove his existence, but he never existed. He was written in the law.
The dungeon until they had the kid, and then they would take the kid up and they would raise the kid a little better because the kid would be lighter. They would teach them how to read.
And there's your whitening, aka bloqueamiento. There's your whitening. They would raise the kid and teach him a little better because the kid was lighter. Even in Brazil, it was a curse to be dark skinned. Everybody's always talking about Brazilian hair. You know why? Because they whitened their population. Everything is mixed. Brazilian hair is mulatto hair. They didn't want black on black. They had to absorb the black, bleach the black, bleed out the black, whiten the black, blaqueamiento. Black bad, white good. Are you not seeing this, ladies and gentlemen? Are you not seeing this? Are you not seeing this? Are you not hearing it?
But you still weren't free. You still were under them. You weren't in the dungeon, basically. So this is kind of where the whole light skin privilege originated. And that's how it came all the way to where we are today. And we still have this issue. This is the actual female dungeon. This is where they ate, slept, used the bathroom, had periods, gave birth, all of that in here. And as many women in here as the men's side were, but there were a lot of women that had to come through here.
Where was Jesus? Where was Jesus? Why didn't Jesus come save those women? And remember, in the Bible, it says it's okay. that if a woman was raped by a man, and was pregnant, that she had to marry that man. You don't see all these men lining up to grape this innocent slave woman? Huh? What happened to those Epstein victims? Were they graped? What is Donald Trump being convicted of? What is he being charged with? Allegedly. This has always been a testament of their culture. These are what these people do when they are in power. They run every single country down. Children are not protected. Women are not protected. Anything non-black does not get protected. Never. No how. No way. Never in the history of niggerdom. It ain't happened, man. It has not happened, and it won't. As long as these people are in power, it won't. This is what they do, and they want you to turn a blind eye. These people want to be looked at as being perfectly flawless when we know that they are perfectly flawed. Perfectly flawed. And TikTok, I'm gonna let y'all know I appreciate y'all, because I know what YouTube is doing right here, and it's okay. It's okay, YouTube. You can shadow ban me, YouTube. It's okay. I can still make my money regardless. You can shadow ban me, YouTube. So TikTok, I appreciate you. I appreciate you all. I really do. And I actually think TikTok is better than YouTube. So I may start streaming more on TikTok than I am on YouTube. So I appreciate the TikTok community. I really do. I appreciate you all. All right. I appreciate you all for showing up, and I appreciate the algorithm on TikTok. I can't appreciate that algorithm and those type of people on YouTube. Can't do it. And I can't listen to this anymore. So now here's what I'm going to give you. Now let's talk about Jesus. Let's talk about religion. Now we're going to get into Jesus. I think this is Black Culture Unlocked, I believe. No, not this one. Not this one.
With omega-3 fats or with fiber, but right next to it, cashew. Cashew is not
his power. He was killed. He descended into the underworld. He was raised. His followers commemorated him through sacred communal feasts in which
watch what nuts do to our body. A walnut is really good for you. It's loaded with omega.
Star in the East. 3 kings came to honor him.
Okay, this is Sacred Logic on YouTube. Y'all go subscribe to
1,000 years before the New Testament was written, the Egyptians had already told this story. A god born of a virgin, a star marking his birth, 12 companions, miracles, betrayal, death, 3 days in the dark, then resurrection. They called him Horus, and if you line his biography up against the life of Jesus, column by column, you will find something that the church has spent 2 millennia hoping you never notice. Horus was a son of Isis and Osiris. His birth was announced by a star in the east. 3 kings came to honor him. At 12, he astonished temple elders with his wisdom, sitting among them, answering questions they could not answer themselves. At 30, he was baptized in a river by a figure named Anup the Baptizer, a character who predates John the Baptist by centuries and whose function in the myth is identical. After that baptism, Horus began a ministry of miracles. He healed the sick, he walked on water, he raised the dead. He had 12 followers. He was called the Lamb of God, the Son of Man, the Light of the World, and the Good Shepherd. He was crucified, buried, and on the 3rd day, raised from the dead. Scholars of comparative mythology and ancient religion have documented these parallels for well over a century, in academic texts, in archaeological records, in the hieroglyphic accounts carved into temple walls at Luxor and Karnak that predate the Gospels by more than a millennium. And yet the average person in the pew has never once heard the name Horus mentioned in a religious. That absence is not an oversight. It is.
There it is. Did I not tell you that if you woke up those ancient Egyptians and you mentioned Christianity, they would be familiar with it? But if you mentioned Jesus, they would have no idea, no clue what you were talking about? No, because they're used to Horus and Osiris. Jesus came with the Roman Empire. There was no J in the Hebrew alphabet, so people argue that his name was Joshua, and all this other stuff. Well, that might have been in the Ethiopian Bible. We don't know. We don't know. They plagiarized everything, y'all. They plagiarized everything. Whatever these people tell you, you should doubt it automatically, man. You should doubt it. If they say it, if they stand on it, you should doubt it. You should research it. You should debunk it. If Charlie Kirk said it, you should doubt it. You should debunk it. If Donald Trump said, doubt it, debunk it. J.D. Vance said, doubt it, debunk it. If any of these people tell you what they believe and perceive to be true, doubt it and go the other way. Go the other way, because they're going to tell you anything that's going to benefit them substantially and as a core of people. They're not going to do that to us. They're not going to do that to us. Let's go, y'all, because I really want to get into this one. For all the Christians.
As a policy, if the foundation of Christian belief was already ancient before Jesus was born, already carved into stone, already woven into ritual, already alive in the minds of millions across the ancient world, then the claim of divine uniqueness does not hold. And the people running the institution have always known that. Which is precisely why the comparison was never invited, and why those who drew it were historically met not with debate, but with condemnation. Here's what makes it harder to set aside. This is not about surface resemblance or a few shared metaphors. The structural architecture is identical. Virgin birth, miraculous ministry, 12 companions, betrayal by a close associate, sacrificial death, 3 days, resurrection, ascension. That is not a loose parallel. That is the same story bearing different names. Either the most consequential religious narrative in human history repeated itself by accident across thousands of years and multiple civilizations, or someone built it from existing material and called it.
Okay, interesting comment. I've got to read it. Eva says, while the Bible does not specify Mary's exact age, most scholars and historians estimate she was a teenager, likely between 12 and 16 years old when she conceived Jesus. I already know that. I mentioned it. I mentioned it at the genesis of this live, but no one talks about that. And no one talks about how this government tends to like little girls that's 12 years old either. 12 to 13. Because from my calculations, she was 12 years old. Everything that I've researched, 12 years old. Married to a grown man by the name of Joseph. No one even brings up the fact that if Joseph was Jesus's earthly father, Jesus did not have any of Joseph's DNA. Right. Epstein doctrine. There you go, Eva. There you go, Eva. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. There you go, Eva. I like that. That's how we roll. I like that. We roll with the truth. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about right there. Go ahead, Eva. See, we're all not asleep. We're all not asleep. Some of us know. You know what I'm saying? We can't continue to live in that fear. They get by with these lies, man. The people that do the research actually find the truth. The people who lean on this fear, well, they know you're going to turn the other cheek. They can do anything to you. You're only going to turn the other cheek. And that's what makes it essentially easy for these people to rule over you, to trick you, to brainwash you, to use you, to cause you to pander in fear so that they can control you and manipulate you and persuade you. Right now. Right now.
The Revelation. The Persians had their own version, Mithra. His cult had already spread across the Roman Empire for centuries by the time early Christians were composing their Gospels, and what they wrote bears a resemblance to Mithraism that cannot be adequately explained by coincidence. Mithra was born in a cave on December 25th. That date appears nowhere in the Bible as the birth date of Jesus, not in Matthew, not in Luke, not anywhere. The church assigned it centuries later, and the date they chose was already sacred across the empire as the Festival of Sol Invictus, the rebirth of the unconquered sun, a celebration with deep roots in Mithraic solar worship. Shepherds came to honor Mithra's birth. He had 12 companions. He performed miracles. He was known as the way, the truth, and the light. The exact titles attributed to Jesus in the Gospel of John. His followers.
I was just about to ask y'all, did any of this sound familiar? Does it sound like you've heard this before? Does it sound like you've heard this before? And if you know the story of this fake Jesus, then you have heard this before. There's a reason you don't know anything about Horus and Osiris. For the same reason that those ancient Egyptians back then who believed in Horus and Osiris and also followed Christianity wouldn't know anything about Jesus. You weren't supposed to know. They burned millions of books after rewriting these doctrines so that the truth was never found. And I keep telling you, there is no evidence without argument. Or there's no argument without evidence, excuse me. There's no argument without evidence.
Or shared a ritual meal of bread and wine that represented his body and blood, presided over by priests, conducted in underground sanctuaries called Mithraea. He died, he descended, he was resurrected. By the late 1st century, Mithraism was not a minor fringe movement. It was embedded in the Roman military, favored by emperors, practiced openly by soldiers across the entire breadth of the empire from Britain to Syria. The early church did not emerge.
Wait a minute. Did we just hear the words Roman Empire? Roman emperors? Did we just hear that word associated with this? Roman. So what was Constantine? What was Emperor Constantine? Where was he from? That's right, the very one who wrote Jesus into law as being God's son in 325 AD. Where was he from? Roman? Was he an emperor? See, the truth is there. It's just you don't want to accept it. You don't want to believe it. You have this extreme fear that if you don't believe this stuff, when you die, you're not going to be able to live. When you need to condition your mind to live while you're living, because even the Bible says, let the dead bury their own. So how are you living to die when the Bible itself said, let the dead bury their own? You're waiting to die and to hopefully live than to live while you're living before you die. And no one understands the genetic brainwash and the psychological effect of Christianity here. No one's catching on to this, but they're living their best lives. They're living while they're living, and they want you to remain fruitful, obedient, and indoctrinated until the day you die so that they can control you. Because when you're gone, they don't have to worry about you anymore. And you're not going to come back to tell someone that it's a lie. These pastors know that it's a lie. These pastors know the truth, but it's all about commerce. These pastors need that money. These pastors need that money. It's an easy hustle. So you done took a lot of D-boys off the streets and you done gave them a license to preach. It's a new hustle, a new wave. A new wave. The same way you look at yourselves as go-getters, look at your husband as go-getters, your pastors. But they don't have to go get it because you're going to take it to them. You're going to finance their lie. And you're also financing their lives. You're financing their lie and you're financing their lives, and you're losing your time. You're losing your mind and you're losing your hard-earned money to indoctrination, to someone who wants you to feel like you're cursed, who wants you to feel hopeful, who wants you to feel like you're just draped in iniquities and sin, because that means that they can always come up off of you, because you're always going to need a good word, and you're always going to need hope and faith, and you're always going to be depending on someone to come save you rather than saving yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. May I ask you, when have anyone non-black has ever come to save you? May I ask you that? When has anyone non-black has ever showed up to save black people? You think they're going to start now, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think they're going to start now? You really think that your oppressor will introduce you to your real empowerment? Do you really think that they're going to give you that empowerment? How can the oppressed and the oppressor have the same God? Here's your oppressor. God, Lord, thank you for that Bible. Thank you for the power you gave us European folks. We done took over the whole world. Lord, we'll short a couple slaves. Lord, where you going to point us to tomorrow? You want us to go to Africa? We'll go get them from Africa. Lord, thank you, Lord, for these people. And now you hit Africa and you have these Africans, these slaves being taken out of their land, being relocated back to someone else's land to be exploited. And these slaves are in the bottom of a boat praying to the same God. Lord Jesus, we certainly believe in you, Father. Father, can you please come down and just rain a blessing? Can you free us from these people? Who does it seem like God heard the most if that was going on? Because this lasted how long? Over 400 years? A real God would have showed up and done real things. A real Jesus would not have allowed this to happen. All God had to do was snap his fingers and end all of it. That did not happen. And we're not going to insert free will into that conversation because those slaves did not have free will. Those slaves did not have free will. The religion, the belief was forced upon them to begin with. How do we get to free will? How do we get to free will?
Alongside it as an unrelated parallel movement. It emerged inside a world already fluent in the language of a virgin-born, miraculous ministry-performing, resurrected Savior God who shared a sacred meal with his initiates. So when scholars observe that Christianity adopted Mithra's birth date, his ritual meal, his solar imagery, his titles, the conclusion the historical evidence supports is not coincidence. It is deliberate adoption. The early church needed to speak a language Romans already understood, and it did, because that is how movements survive. Not by demanding that people abandon everything familiar, but by handing them something that already feels like home and telling them it is new. Sunday was already the day of solar worship long before it became the Lord's Day. The halo placed around the head of Jesus in Christian iconography originates directly from the radiant crown of sun gods worn by...
Let's run that back. I try to get y'all to understand. They have y'all going to church on Sunday, S-U-N-D-A-Y, sun, S-U-N, solar, sun, S-U-N. S-U-N-D-A-Y. They got y'all going to church on a Sunday praising the S-O-N. When it was completely solar. That sun is the truth, the life, and the way. That sun adds light, warmth, healing, and nourishment. Without that sun in the sky, nothing lives, nothing survives, nothing grows. Nothing exists. Where do you think the term sun gods came from? Why do you always think you see the sun behind Jesus in those pictures? Is it not making sense? How do you spell Sunday? Not S-O-N-D-A-Y. S-U-N-D-A-Y. People, we need to get conscious. People, we need to get conscious. People, we need to grow a pair. We need to stop being so easily duped. It's right in your face. Right in your face. And we won't take accountability. We refuse to take accountability. We refuse to call these people out on their lies. Let's go.
Something that already feels like home and telling them it is new. Sunday was already the day of solar worship long before it became the Lord's Day. The halo placed around the head of Jesus in Christian iconography originates directly from the radiant crown of sun gods worn by Mithra, by Sol Invictus, by Apollo. These were not absorbed accidentally or unconsciously. They were absorbed because the people making the decisions knew exactly what they were doing. The fact that most Christians have never once heard the name Horus mentioned in a religious context is not a gap in their education. It is the intended result of 2,000 years of institutional management. Mithra is not the only example. He's not even the most structurally precise. Dionysus, the Greek god of wine and transformation, was born of a virgin mother named Semele, fathered by Zeus, who came to her disguised, making her conception miraculous and her son both mortal and divine. Dionysus performed miracles throughout his mythology, most famously turning water into wine, not as a one-time event, but as a recurring feature of his identity. He was persecuted by those who feared his power. He was killed. He descended into the underworld.
Who else turned water into wine? This just proves how much these people lie, steal, cheat, unalive. Come on, man. Are we not hearing this? Are we not hearing this? Everything that they have pillaged and stolen, borrowed and plagiarized, lied about and rewrote history to make themselves look like the sole proprietors of control, of being chosen, of being superior and indigenous. These people are calling themselves Americans right now. We know that they're Europeans, but they'll look at a black man and call a black man an African American, knowing that we're indigenous, knowing that we were reclassified at least 5 times. And the last time came from the work of the biggest Sambo, if I can say that, who was Jesse Jackson, who labeled us and coined the term African American in 1988. We're not African American. Truth is, these people don't owe you nothing for anything that you went through or anything that your ancestors went through, right down to mass incarceration to this day. You know why? Because they are getting you to identify as a foreign entity on this domestic soil. So if you drop African and you drop reparations and you go with indigenous compensation, you may have an argument there. You may get some things done. But as long as you're calling it reparations, as long as you're identifying as an African, man, you're stopping your own movement before you can get started. It's all about the wordplay, ladies and gentlemen. These people know. These people know about Walter Plecker and the U.S. Census. These people know about the Dawes-Rose Act. These people know about the Siberian Native Americans. These people know who was here when they got here. They know, but they don't need you to know. They don't need you to know. Eva, I'm gonna go ahead and get into some of your comments because you're leaving some good stuff here. All right. Eva says, what exactly did JC do for us? JC is Jesus Christ. He was peaceful and tried to challenge the oppressive racial system. He showed love to children, and the results of his 3 years of preaching to the masses, he was lynched, gaslighted by the elders, making it seem like it was their collective voices that shaped the destiny of JC, taking no responsibility, just like the unaliving of Jesus Christ 2,000 years later. What tangible benefits for Black people received the teachings of JC that could positively improve, impact their lives? No disrespect, but questions to ponder on. Nothing. It gave us nothing. And you know what? They took out 3 of their own presidents. They tried to take out Donald Trump. They took out Charlie Kirk. And you know what, Eva? They also took out Jesus Christ. The same people who run this government, the same people who want you to trust them, who you think will never lie to you, actually took out the very person that you call your savior. That you call your savior. Hell yeah, they took out Jesus too if he existed. So who haven't these people unalive? Who haven't they deceived? Who haven't they stabbed in the back? Real talk.
He was raised. His followers commemorated him through sacred communal feasts in which wine represented his body and his living presence among them, a ritual structure that predates the Christian Eucharist by centuries. He died, he descended, he was resurrected. Attis, worshipped in Phrygia, the region of modern Turkey, presents even a more specific parallel. Born of a virgin mother named Nana, who conceived him miraculously, Attis grew to become a divine figure whose death was understood as a cosmic sacrifice. He died tied to a sacred tree, an image that directly echoes crucifixion. His death was mourned publicly for 3 days. On the third day, his resurrection was celebrated with great ceremony at the spring equinox, the same lunar calculation that now determines the date of Easter. His followers believed that participation in the ritual of his death and resurrection guaranteed their own spiritual renewal. The cult of Attis and its resurrection festival was established and widely practiced for centuries before any gospel account was written. Then there's Krishna, one of the principal avatars of the Hindu god Vishnu, whose story was recorded in texts that scholars date to centuries before the Common Era. Born to a virgin mother named Devaki through divine intervention, his arrival was announced by a star in the eastern sky. A king named Kamsa, warned by prophecy that this child would overthrow him, ordered the killing of all male infants born at that time, the same story that appears in the Gospel of Matthew, attributed to Herod. Krishna survived, grew up as a child prodigy of extraordinary wisdom, performed miracles throughout his life, healed the sick, raised the dead. He had 12 followers. He was called the Lamb of God, the Son of Man, the Light of the World, and the Good Shepherd. This is not a fringe theory. What emerges from looking at all 5 of these figures together is not a series of interesting coincidences. It is a template, a mythological formula that recurs across cultures separated by geography and language. The divine child born of a virgin mother, the miraculous ministry, the sacrificial death, the resurrection, the expectation of salvation extended to followers through ritual participation. That formula was ancient, widespread, and emotionally powerful long before anyone wrote a word of the New Testament.
Tom Ogle drove 200 miles on only 2 gallons of gasoline.
Royal Raymond Rife claimed he could heal cancer using sound frequency.
The most common defense at this point is that these similarities are exaggerated or taken out of context, and it's worth acknowledging that some versions of this argument in popular culture have been imprecise. Not every claim parallel holds up equally under scrutiny, but the structural core, the recurring mythological framework, is documented in mainstream academic scholarship and is not seriously contested by historians of religion. The debate among scholars is about degree and causation, not about whether the parallels exist. They exist. The question is what the people who built early Christianity did with them.
The people who built early Christianity. Ladies and gentlemen, the people who built early Christianity. And this is why it is important for us to read, ladies and gentlemen. This is why it is important for us to read. Now, this may appear backwards. I show this on YouTube a lot. The world's 16 crucified saviors, Christianity before Christ, written by Kersey Graves. Written by Kersey Graves. The truth is there. The truth is there. I do this all the time. All the time, y'all. This is a list of all the saviors before Jesus Christ. I'm showing it to you, TikTok. A list of all the saviors that existed in Christianity before Jesus Christ. YouTube. Right here. Before Christianity. Before Jesus, and come on, man. Before Jesus existed. I'm sorry. It's right here. This isn't rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. We're afraid to do the work. We're afraid to wake up. We're afraid to know the truth. We're afraid to be independent. We're afraid to think consciously. We're afraid to be spiritual people. We are afraid to return back to our roots and who we were before we were mentally and physically disturbed by these people in their demonic cultures with their demonic agendas, y'all. I'm talking empowerment. I'm talking truths. I'm talking facts. Facts. You will bet your life on this Christianity and this white Jesus. But you won't bet on yourself. You'll wait for someone to come save you, but you won't save yourself. You'll show up to a brick and mortar building for a man who is just indoctrinated and money hungry as the people who run the government to tell you and read a couple of excerpts and scream at you in the Bible on Sundays out of the Bible. rather than do the work yourself and know the truth. Do y'all know why these pastors start in Exodus? Because they consider it a liberational point from when we broke away from colonization. That's something that they use. The Bible starts with Genesis. Most of these churches start with Exodus, only if you're black. You've never heard a pastor address slavery in that Bible. You've never heard a pastor addressing God unaliving all those people in that Bible. You never heard a pastor addressing why is it okay for a woman to still have to marry a man that raped her. What type of God is this is what the world needs to be thinking. What type of bullshit is this is the world needs to be thinking. And we also need to be thinking, this sounds familiar because we've seen this playbook from time to time again. Time and time again. We've seen it with a group of people. We've seen it with a group of people who still run and control and manipulate the government using Christianity. They will tell you in God we trust, but if you pay attention to them, they're telling you what God they trust. Even the Bible tells you, put no other gods before me, for I'm a very jealous God. Yeah, they're very jealous people, aren't they? Because that is your God in that Bible. Government of destruction, government of disaster, government of discrimination. Government of devils and demons. Because they're still doing the same thing right now to today. And everyone's like so indoctrinated. Oh, the Bible said this is going to happen. It's got to be the end days. It's the last days. Do y'all understand the Bibles had writers? Movies have writers. Scripts have writers. They write this stuff down, then they act it out. So if they write it down, it's easy for you to believe that the Bible is coming true because they have to act it out. The Simpsons don't predict anything. The Simpsons have writers. Then they go on to act it out in real life. They show it to you. They showed you iRobot how long ago? And now look at all the AI taking off. When I was young, we watched E.T. They're just now starting to talk about aliens and extraterrestrial beings. But they introduced this stuff long ago. Long ago. It's a simulation. This is the Matrix, and we're living inside of it, ladies and gentlemen. We are living inside of it, and it's time for us to start thriving rather than just surviving. It's time for us to get out of this religious brainwash. You're never going to break yourself away from that oppression. You're never going to see the downfall of a systemic and entitled empire here with these people if you don't wake up and break the chains. You took off the physical chains to put on invisible mental slave chains. At least when you have physical chains on, you can see your physical limitations. They took the chains off and you created your own mental limitations by believing in this BS. And that's all I have for you right now, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even want to finish this. You can go find this stuff yourself. We have access to the internet. The lie should have quit when the internet hit. The lie should have quit when the internet hit. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank everyone who joined me this morning. I will be going live a little bit later on today, maybe this morning sometime. But I felt like this was a good debate to have. And I didn't even get to all of the things I had pulled up here because I know you guys have to start getting ready for work, get your kids up for school, things of that nature. So I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all. But please go do the work. If you believe that Jesus went through more than what a slave went through, then please go look up the effects of the Atlantic slave trade, the effects of chattel slavery. Research how they were punished. Jesus didn't go through that. And let y'all tell it, Jesus could have healed himself. Them slaves had no one to heal them, and America still won't heal us to this day. America still won't acknowledge that debt. America still does not acknowledge the oppression, the prejudice, the racism in this country. They don't and they won't. And this proves the origin of who these people are. Evil. The origin of where they come from. Demonic. Selfish. And they fool you. People in control. People who control your government can always fool you. Because they're in control of everything. Every time Trump figures someone's getting close to these Epstein files, what does he do? He fire people and add more people that's going to protect them. We watched Pam Bondi protect him. Now she's refusing to even speak under oath. I believe she's going to let it all out now. Hell knows no fury like a woman scorned. When a woman's fed up, remember? And I'm going to say this in closing. If you're not going to lock up all of these vampires for what they've done sexually to people, then why the hell y'all got brother R. Kelly locked up? Because the love ain't been the same in the black community since y'all took R. Kelly away. And black people, y'all know that's true. Music has changed. R. Kelly was bringing us together. R. Kelly was bringing us together. R. Kelly had that step, side to side, round and round, hit the ground, separate, bring it back. Let me see you do love slide. Ain't no love here between us no more. Now the genders are going against each other. The men don't like the women don't like the men. And the music is divisive. Oh yeah. Listen, you got your city girls, you got your Meg Thee Stallions, you got all these feminists, you got the misogynists. Listen, they're gonna do anything they can to keep us divided, y'all. And we've got to do everything in our power to come together and unify. Unify. We've got to find a common ground, and we've got to make it to an educational standpoint to where we can stand together, make our demands, find a candidate, find a party, let the Democrats go, let the Republicans go, let all of that BS go, because it is the same pot, same snake, same everything. There's no difference. Independent party, third party, black people, hold your votes. If these people aren't talking reparations, they're finna give Iran reparations already. If these people aren't talking reparations for foundational black Americans, the indigenous, why are you voting? You're voting to help other people. Isn't it time that you vote to help yourselves? With that being said, this is the point where I tell you, thank you for joining me on TikTok. Thank you for joining me on YouTube. If you rock with me on TikTok, please find me on YouTube. If you rock with me on YouTube, please find me on TikTok. And I appreciate everyone. I appreciate everyone who stopped in this morning and took part in the live stream. You know, y'all stay prayed up, stay blessed up, stay meditated up. I need to be telling y'all first is get your one-on-one. Get your one-on-one. Get your one-on-one. Get your one-on-one. Everyone get your one-on-one with the real, true, indigenous Most High, because he's inside of you. He's inside of you. He's inside of you. It's a balance between good and bad within you, your decision making, your spirit. All right. Y'all stay prayed up, stay blessed up, stay meditated up, stay protected, stay real, stay conscious, stay on point. Stay real, stay conscious, stay uncut. Be inspired, be great, be you. I just saw your message here that said on point, and then I happen to say on point. Eva, thank you for rocking with me. Doug, thank you for rocking with me. The YouTube tribe, thank you for rocking with me. Things have shook up. We've gotten rid of some people, some moderators. Lala will not be joining us again. Trust me, I'm not sure about FMG, you know. And over here on TikTok, I am always looking for moderators. I'm going to need moderators. So I'm looking for people. FBA Convo, you know it's love, brother. You know it's love. All right. Ashe, ladies and gentlemen.